Extreme here with an unboxing, assembly, and review of this G.I. Joe piece. And I know what you're thinking, it's already unboxed. How are you going to unbox it again? Well, hang on. I took some pictures for you guys. So first of all, here's the art box. And here's the top of it. And here is the dual layer foam and all the pieces within the packaging. And here is a picture of everything laid out on the table. So you physically did not see me take it out of the box. And if that's why you tuned in, go ahead and give me a thumbs down. It was so exciting and you missed it. I just want to let you know that though. But you will see an assembly and a review. So let's do it. Extreme here to assemble quarter scale Storm Shadow from Prime 1. We're going to talk more about the piece later, but right now we're going to do the assembly. Thankfully, it comes with instructions from Prime 1, and it looks like there are about 17 steps, and it is pretty complicated because there's probably about that many pieces, if not more. But you know what Mr. X says, directions. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need them actually, but let's go ahead and dive in. So first we have the base and this pillar of some type adds to it, that oriental vibe. I'm trying not to stand up. I really don't wear pants. To clarify, I do wear briefs or boxers, but they have a little flap in front of them, and I want this channel to stay PG. Alright, slid right in. I think next we will try Storm Shadow. Storm Shadow is extremely heavy, makes me think he's mostly polystone. I'm also guessing the magnets are extremely strong because they look big. So he is going to go like so. So one thing you're going to see, I did have something damaged in the box. Man, I'm going to have to stand up again. The angle on this is incredible. So the engineering behind it, and Storm Shadow still is not 100% in, but I think it's a design flaw. So we'll talk about that later. So he has a number of switch outs. He has two different right arms, two different left arms. Some hold swords, those are pretty easy. So right here, here's one of his swords or katanas. So that's pretty easy to figure out. So we'll try the one where he's holding the bow and arrow, because I like to do more complicated shit on camera. So he has a quiver right here too, and tons of tiny little arrows, or at least arrow heads. Pretty badass. I'm not a big comic book reader anymore either, so pretty strong magnet it looks like. And one thing I notice when I'm editing these, I do funny stuff with my tongue, like that. My wife always tells me that too. You like that? We got some nunchucks and a belt loop right there, pretty easy. This looks like it goes on the back. That's kind of cool. So he has his sheaths for his katanas on the back of his quiver. That's pretty smart. So he can be totally decked out. And I think this is going to be the complicated part, putting his bow together and the arrow, especially since it's the thing that's broken. I'm really impressed with this guy though. This is actually my second G.I. Joe statue. Hopefully I aired Destro earlier this week, I will definitely air Destro before this. So somehow this will set in. I'm being really careful with it because it is broken. All right. Actually, it wasn't that hard to assemble. So there he is. All right. Nope. Already fell. So let me get my shit together and then we will do the review. Extreme here with quarter scale Storm Shadow from Prime 1 Studios, G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe is the name of the comic and cartoon series that Storm Shadow comes from. Storm Shadow is a part of the Cobra Force. Cobra is the bad guys, the evil ones, and I purchased him because Prime 1 has made to date, five G.I. Joe statues, and I have the first 4, either here or on order. I only have Destro right now, which I believe I aired earlier this week, and I'm planning on getting Serpentor and Snake Eyes. I have them on order, so they should be shipping in the next few months. But I got it because I'm a big G.I. Joe fan, and I have a nostalgic 90s cartoon display, and here's a picture of the top shelf of it. So this actually has Storm Shadow on it, and Masters of the Universe, and of course Thundercats. And if you're looking at that and you saw my Lino review, I emailed Sideshow for a return, one of the rare times that I do that, and it was back in February when they were switching over their website, and I never got a reply, so my return was past date, so I just decided to keep him. I think I'm going to try and have someone repaint him someday. But purchased him. These are incredibly cheap for what they are as far as price-wise. This was $549, brand new. I got it from Prime 1, used economy shipping, which was like 40 bucks. So the quality and the size of these for the price is amazing. Excuse me. I think it was $549. $649. Still pretty damn good deal. Let's get dimensions on him. It's kind of weird. I don't know what to talk about when we already did the unboxing, so you know all the pieces. 26 inches tall. Width is probably 18, or depth is probably 18, and width is probably 15 or 16 inches. And for exact measurements, go to Sideshow or Prime 1's website. Sideshow was distributing this piece. So they made 850 of these. 350 were the exclusive, which had an additional portrait. So I got the collector's edition, the regular edition, not the exclusive, because they were sold out. And you have to pay up the ass. You got to pay about $300 more for it secondhand. So here's the different portraits. This is the one that I have that comes with all 850 pieces. And then here's a stock photo of the exclusive portrait that only comes with 350 of them. And I was okay getting the collector's because I actually like the collector's portrait better. It's more the true Storm Shadow that I grew up with. He does have a number of switch outs still for every edition. So the first one is where he's holding this bow and arrow. So here's a close-up of it. And then the other one, you can swap out his arms so he's holding his katanas. The one thing I wish they would have done, and this is more of a design issue, so I'm getting ahead, is they could have put some katana hilts here, so when he's carrying this, the bow and arrow, you could see that he had the swords in the back. I did have a casualty, so the arrow right here, when I opened up the box, the tip was broken off. So here's a picture of that. So I'm going to reach out to Prime 1, see what they can do. So this is setting in there very gently. We'll leave this off for now. So, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. G.I. Joe, big part of my childhood. I was always Storm Shadow. My older brother was always Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow are mortal enemies. So I'm going to, Snake Eyes is, I think he's the next one I have arriving, so it'll be cool having them right next to each other. I am a little concerned, though. They're doing more villains than they are heroes, so they currently have Snake Eyes, and I think Scarlet is their 5th release that I'm not getting. I do hope they do Cobra Commander as well. But really excited to have the piece, man. It looks really, really good. So let's just dive into that, starting with the concept and the design. First of all, conceptually, so Storm Shadow is a master ninja, which is really, really cool because he's also a master of ninja weaponry. So you'll see him with a number of different weapons, not just in this statue, but in the comics and the cartoons. But starting off here, he's in this forest, which I believe Snake Eyes base is a forest as well. It doesn't flow with some of the other bases in the storyline. And then you have that big red pillar that's kind of a tie-in back to his roots and his heritage. But he's fighting in the forest. He's in a dynamic position. He's shooting his arrow, or he has his katanas, depending which one you have going on. And he's ready to fight. And I believe the Snake Eyes portion of one, here's a picture of it. So he's fighting too. So you can definitely put them warring with each other. I don't know yet what I'm going to permanently display, whether it is the bow and arrow or the katanas. For now, probably the katanas because this is broken, but I'll figure that out later. So I think the concept's awesome. When you're doing G.I. Joe, it's kind of like, what do we do for the base? And I think on Destro, yeah, the base, it would have been nice if they tied all the bases together. So like I do know on Destro, they had a Cobra symbol on the base, where here they have, I don't know what it is. I don't know if that's Storm Shadow's symbol or not. He does have a Cobra symbol up there. Design-wise, lots of cool stuff going on with this. This is very impressive. So first of all, as I put him together, his pose is crazy. I mean, you have to get it just in the right angle going down, and it's very impressive, and hopefully there wouldn't be any lean issues. I don't foresee any. But one issue is the left foot here doesn't go all the way in. Here's a picture. You can kind of see the peg. And they didn't put a peg on the right foot, so it just sits there, and I imagine that's going to be an issue with scratch paint down the road, so that is what it is. But I really like how strong the magnets are on every aspect that you plug in. You guys saw me assemble everything. And I haven't had a character that has a bow, so I don't know if this is eventually over time going to stretch out and not be as taut. I didn't even think it would stretch that far back, but it's definitely not going to break or anything. So that could be an issue down the road, and then obviously the whole arrow thing. So definitely some concerns with the design, but I give them an A+ for ambition. Very impressive. I'd rather have them try and do a statue like this than, skimp on it. And they did an excellent job on the paint and sculpt. I'm really impressed. I thought Destro was good. I think this is great. And it makes me even more excited for my next two pieces from this line that I'm getting. So starting at the base, the exterior is this strange, weird, metallic, gray, silver, black. I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's interesting. I would have rather just had more rocks. And like I said, they have that red symbol in the front. And I don't know if that's supposed to signify something for Storm Shadow or something for Cobra. It's almost too big. They could have cut down the height a little bit, but the nice thing is I can pose him behind other characters. And then looking at the rocks in the base, so he is in a forest, but there's not a ton of vegetation. So just the boulders and the rocks look good. They don't look great, they look good. 2 days ago, I did a custom Drax where I didn't like the rocks. I like these better. I think the sculpt is very similar, a little bit better, a little bit more design and texture, but I think the paint really makes it pop. So they have so many different colors and the variations of paint, and they have this clear resin on some of the rocks and trees to kind of show some wetness in the forest or wherever he's at now. And then they have this moss. It looks like real moss. It's sculpted in. I don't know. I think it's like real material they put in there, fake moss or substrate, and it's all over the tree branches and the rocks and the totem pole or whatever that is. Really makes it pop. And then the logs in here, fantastic sculpt, fantastic paint, especially for a factory piece. Really digging the grains in here, and looks great. And then that totem pole post, whatever that is, I like the red. It really makes the statue contrast. The sculpt on it is good, not great. I like how aged it is. I don't know why that would be sitting in the forest, so that doesn't make sense. Really, really cool. And that's just the base, and Storm Shadow is excellent as well. So let's just talk about him. So first his shoes, he has ninja shoes. They almost look like old Converse shoes with no shoelaces. They look flexible, there's folds in them. They look durable. I don't know what a ninja wears for shoes, but I imagine it'd be something like this. Some cool colors. I like how the colors all throughout Storm Shadow, you know, he usually wears a white uniform. This one doesn't look dirty, but it doesn't look clean. They were able to do the paint really well, so it's kind of in between. And then as you move up, I'm a little confused. On his pants below his knee, they look really baggy, and he has these ropes that have tied them off. And I'm not complaining because the sculpt is incredible. It's almost like these pants were too loose, so he used some rope, and there's so much detail in the rope and the pants and the texture and where they're bunched together, and that same aspect of the white and black paint going on. And there's seams that run all the way up to the side, so from the bottom of his cuffs on his pants, and then you see above the knee, the pants are a decent amount tighter. They're still not super tight, so you still see those different folds. One interesting thing I noticed on Storm Shadow here, they didn't give him a bulge. Seems like they give most of the statues a bulge in the pants. But cool texture throughout the pants. Very ninja-like as well. And then he does have a belt for his pants. And it's interesting because the belt is not to hold up his pants. It's more of a utility belt. He's got his nunchucks on it that look fantastic. I like they added that detail. Then he has a pouch on one side, some more pouches on the back, and Prime 1 is awesome with sculpting pouches on belts. You know, from the buckles to the pouch itself, and I like how it's different colors. He has a white one, a brown one, a black one. And then Storm Shadow's upper body. So first of all, awesome anatomy. One mistake I think they made is his suit that he's wearing looks decently thick, so you wouldn't see that awesome anatomy through a suit that is that thick. But there's no texture on this like there is the pants. But it's like almost like a gi. You can see it folded over. And then he's got you know, his quiver buckled in with this black strap and silver buckles. Looks really good. The sculpt in paint is really clean. Then the Cobra symbol. The paint isn't 100% clean on this. You could see how hard it was to paint the red in the middle. It's a little uneven. Probably my only QC complaint. Then he has, you know, for shooting arrow, he has the guards on his hands and his forearms. And these look great too. Again, they're laced together, they're bunched together, and it's a totally different looking material than his pants or his shirt. And then look at his skin. They have this translucent skin that they're doing all the time. I think it looks phenomenal. It looks really good. The one miss is there are some showing of some veins, but it's not very dark. For how buff they made his stomach, you think it would have followed, but he's very fit. I really like this. Sculpt on his hands is fantastic. And then looking at his back here, so you see the quiver and the sheaths for the sword, another Cobra symbol. They look good. Nothing crazy to go into detail about, but checkered pattern and, you know. And before we jump into the portrait, the interesting thing about that's technically not the back of the statue, because depending how you can display him, you can display him like this, even like this. So a lot of different angles. And last, let's look at the portrait. So again, this is only the collector's portrait. So a little bit of texture on the mask. different type. It's a tighter texture than his pants, and you can see some folds. And there's a little bit of tarnishment with the black paint that they ran through there. Good sculpt. You can definitely tell his nose and see his chin at the bottom. You can't see any of his lips, which sometimes they do make the lip apparent through a tight face mask like that. And then they use the translucent skin for the part that you can see around his eyes. Eyebrows are sculpted in. You know, not a lot of expression. It's probably hard to show expression when it's just his eyes. No wonder this piece is sold out. I'm shocked because this was the first piece they released, and I think it is top notch. I think it is really good. I'm surprised the rest of the line hasn't sold out. But Destro, I think Snake Eyes was the second one. Destro was the second one I received, and I've already aired him. But he's clearly not as good as Storm Shadow. So if I had to get rid of some, I'd get rid of him first. But man, I'm going to keep him for a long time. And if Snake Eyes is as good as him, I'm going to keep those two forever. So I'm worried how big Serpentor is going to be. But what I would like you guys to comment on today is I want to know your favorite cartoon growing up. There were so many cool ones, you know, from Thundercats to Silverhawks to, you know, I loved one and My Little Pony and, you know, so much other cool shit. So let me know what your favorite cartoons were growing up, and please don't date me too much and name a cartoon that was in like 2009. But and of course X-Men animated series, that's always, you know, near the top. And you know what's funny is if you go back and you watch the cartoons now that you loved them, they're really hard to watch because they're kind of bad, with the exception of some of the X-Men animated series. So I do appreciate you guys watching. I say that every time because I really mean it. So drop me a like, subscribe if you haven't. I got tons of cool shit like this, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care.